see. Just wait for it to go live on my computer. Waiting for Fastnickel. Okay, we are live. So let's see if we get anybody that shows up. Give it about 5 minutes or so. If not, we will just go full steam ahead and people will have to listen to the replay. Hello, Cynthia.
Well, I'm excited. I'm excited tonight.
I'm glad you are.
Hello, everyone.
Let me get. Okay. So tonight we have Miss Coco G and Miss Marina, Operation Now. And,
Hey.
And we're going to talk primarily.
Hold on, can I just say something?
Of course you may.
I'm in the building.
She is in the building. Hey, I got Don P in the building. Shabbat Shalom. So today, I put the link in if anybody wants to join us, but the 3 topics we're going to talk about are the OCC and crypto, meta glasses, and control. So let us begin. So when you talk about the future of money, it is being built in public and most people still don't see it. So there's a lot of distractions going on in the world without people really knowing what they're doing in the background. So you really need to be paying attention to what's going on so that you're prepared and you're not hurt for as long a time or as badly as others will be. So if the easiest place to hide information is in a book, and I'm definitely guilty of that because I'm one that doesn't like to read. The second way is to distribute the information in phases. Nothing looks dramatic in real time. It all looks like updates, policy debates, and confusing terminology. So we're going to look at the National Bank Chartering Final Rule. So the Office of the Controller of the Currency, which is the OCC, the Office of the Controller OCC is issuing a final rule to clarify the long-standing authority of national banks limited to the operations of trusts, companies, and activities related thereto to engage in non-fiduciary activities. In addition to their fiduciary activities, the final rule would neither expand nor contract the OCC's authority to charter a national bank. The final rule was effective as of April 1st. So as of April 1st, this has gone in play behind the scenes. So what it is that went behind the scenes? So here is the statement that basically gives the authority to banks to hold crypto on their books. So even though no one's really talking about crypto, the markets seem like they're dead, nothing's going on. In real time, they're putting the infrastructure in place. And this is why I keep saying to people, you really want to be prepared. You want to have an understanding of crypto so that you're not left behind when this does roll out. So when we talk about the foundation of money being rebuilt, so right now they have the payment systems are evolving, banks are adjusting their infrastructure, governments are working through digital frameworks, institutions are preparing for tokenization, and that's the key word there. Technology is pushing everything to a more programmable environment. So the key is, where does opportunity and risk live? The gap between what's happening and what people is the gap between what's happening and what people understand. Where opportunity and risk meet is the sweet spot. And this is where you want to be. And I'm going to show you one of the reasons why. Before I begin, Coco, you or Lorena, do you have a comment or a question?
Not at the moment.
Okay. So let me go ahead and play this.
Race and takes over.
So this is a clip.
Superstate's $900 million on-chain fund. Guys, this is massive. Jim basically came in and told us that Invesco is now the major player of Superstate. Superstate is the technology provider to Invesco and its funds. And this is now enabling Superstate to scale all of their product offerings to the entire cast of characters and customers that are using Invesco's products, from the commercial side all the way to the retail side. Superstate is working on new licensing as well that will enable them to have products available to just not just accredited investors, but to retail investors as well.
There's a bit more here, and we're seeing it play out across all of the tokenization protocols. We're continuing to see the unbundling of the tokenization stack. And so obviously Superstate had accumulated about $900 million into this fund. It was their flagship fund. They said, look, we are not asset managers. We are a tokenization enablement partner. And that is the role that they're continuing to play. Then they will have Invesco as the asset manager of the fund. This is mirrored in the other partnerships and announcements that we've seen dominate this week. We were talking with Carlos Domingo, our friend of the show. Securities was able to partner with the New York Stock Exchange. They're going to be the tokenization enablement partner of the New York Stock Exchange, and we'll see a plethora of tokenized equities on top of this, as well as lots more tokenization agents, digital transfer agents, and asset managers. Later on today, we're going to have Franklin Templeton and Ondo talk about their partnership, and we're going to have them on, and they're going to be explaining a little bit more about what this divergence looks like, because it is very similar to what Invesco and Superstate are doing. Franklin Templeton is the asset manager. They are issuing the ETFs. Ondo is the tokenization enablement partner. So this is the pattern that we're going to continue to see play out. We are unbundling the stack, and we're getting more specialization as this industry and this sector matures. So I would anticipate that we're going to see a lot more of this. We're going to see more funds. We're going to see more asset managers, and we're going to see this complexity start to arise as there becomes more specialization in the tokenization stack. I would continue to watch out for this pattern as these funds mature.
Sorry.
Race.
So this was at the Digital Asset Summit last week in New York City. And as I said, although things may not seem like nothing's happening because everybody's focused on Iran, but they are putting everything in place so that when they're ready, it's going to catch those that are not paying attention off guard. So I want to play now.
Takes over Superstate's 900 million
transfer agents. And so this is the.
So Mike, I have a question.
Yes.
So how will this impact like our older people or those who are not, familiar with, the digital currency, crypto and all of that? How will that impact them?
So they're going to roll out digital wallets on people's phones, but there's going to be a learning curve. And unfortunately, you're gonna have to figure out how to use it. How it's gonna work, I don't know. All I know is that they will roll out these wallets for everybody because they're gonna digitize everything. So once they do that, we're gonna see how much help they provide for the public, and this is where channels like mine, where if there isn't help, they're gonna wind up coming to me for help.
And that's the piece that I'm just really nervous about because, I feel like my age group, like that millennium group, and like
The Gen Xers.
the Gen Xers, yeah, I feel like they're going to be prepared because they're doing it pretty much, now. But, for that individual that keeps, cash on them all the time, or, just that older group, just, like 60 and older, well, 70 or older, I just wonder, how that's going to impact them. And, how will they, if they're not necessarily on the computer or not keeping up with this kind of information, which typically they're not, I just feel like, they're going to be so left behind or so lost. And, it's going to have to take a real community to help, the older population.
Well,
Especially relieving their fear about, technology and making
Yeah.
them a bit more comfortable in learning about that and protecting their assets through that medium.
To be honest with you, when you look at the small percentage of Americans that understand crypto, it's not just people 50 and above. There's people in there, like my daughter's in her 20s, my other daughter's in her early 30s. They don't know anything about crypto per se.
I agree with that. My
That's
youngest,
true.
he
That's
has
true.
nothing, he wants nothing to do with it also. So I can
Yeah, that
understand
is
that.
true. That is a true statement.
But the problem is you're gonna have no choice. So we're gonna see how this.
And how do we help them safeguard themselves through that transition period? That's another
So
question.
what's going to happen is you're going to have people like Franklin Templeton, who I'm going to show you in a moment.
Mhm.
Them, you're going to have Charles Schwab, like the banks. A lot of these places are going to be custodials for you. But the problem that I've been trying to help people realize is that's all part of control. And the truth be told, you want to understand as much as you can so that your fate is not in your hands, in their hands.
Right, because once they control your funds, once they control the money, they control you.
Right, because they can turn it on and off, and you're going to see that when I talk about meta and the control piece of this.
And Ondo, respectively. Guys, welcome to the show. How's Dash treating you?
Awesome.
It's great. Yeah, lots of excitement.
It's your time to shine, guys. Isn't that right?
I think that's right. Been waiting for a while.
Our day has come. Our day has come.
Yeah, it's been a while. Well, guys, you are partnering today. We don't want to bury the lead. Let's just talk about what the partnership is about, why it came about, how it came about. Ian, we'll start with you first.
Yeah, no. So, as some of you know, Ondo has been really on a mission to make institutional grade financial products available to a global audience seamlessly, permissionlessly. We started with treasuries. Most recently, we did that for stocks and ETFs with our Ondo Global Markets platform. We're now listed on major exchanges like Binance and BitGet and Gate and OKX. And so we're getting to the point where hundreds of millions of users finally should have access to institutional grade products. But obviously, we still need a partner to bring more products on chain, to design custom solutions for this global investor base. And that's where we're so excited to partner up with Franklin Templeton to make that happen.
Beautiful.
Great. And from our perspective, right, we have been passionate about this wallet-based ecosystem for years now, right? We launched the first tokenized fund ever back in April of 2021, so we're coming up on 5 years of being 24/7. We are looking at this partnership with Ondo as our opportunity to really bring more of the Franklin Templeton organization to this wallet-based investing audience. And we really want to start with our ETF suite because this is where we have already been really investing in thinking about what are the products that are really going to drive return. So we're looking at things like gold, we're looking at things like new technologies, and then you need to have basic diversification. And that is something we feel like, you know, this audience is ready to really embrace, is having a diversified portfolio so that they can be building long-term returns along their short-term volatility and opportunities. So we think this is a great way for us to come to market and really learn more about the investor appetite and help to shape it together with Ondo.
Yeah, I think that's amazing. I mean, because for the longest time, we've had only crypto assets on chain, meaning that users have to pull funds out of the ecosystem to access other assets. I mean, every time that I do that, I feel like it's like, oh, I'm safe now. I'm going, all right, I'm going to put into my Schwab account. I'm good. But then the weekends come, and we are in a regime that is very volatile, and all of a sudden oil futures are flying on something like hyperliquid, or I want to quickly trade into a gold ETF, or I want to have access to some yield product that is, you know, safe by means of FDIC or by means of a large bank, not by means of a DeFi protocol or by a stablecoin. And so there's kind of this evolving set of users. No, come on, like I like stablecoins. Come on, there's a change here, and so there's an evolving kind of user base here that's going to be using these products. Sandy, talk to us about the type of user that you're trying to reach through this partnership with Ondo. What is Ondo's distribution on chain really? What do you look to get from, you know, their set of users and token holders?
Yeah, so I think that there's three really critical things that we feel like we're going to get through this partnership. Is number one, we believe that this audience is an audience that has come from the crypto world and is now starting to have more interest in the traditional investing world, but they don't necessarily understand it as well as they might understand crypto. And so we think this is an opportunity for us to bring the financial education that we provide all the time through Franklin Templeton to this audience. We're going to be doing things like learn to earn programs, right? We think that it's going to give us an opportunity to really understand how to build, to us, a 21st century portfolio, right? Most people today think about a portfolio as 60-40, 60% equities, 40% bonds, and hey, that was awesome for 1970, but it's 2026, right?
It's
so
time to
you
full
know,
stack into Bitcoin, baby. Let's go, Sandy!
Right. I want my crypto. I want some exposure to private equity. I want some exposure to private credit. I want to see some tokenized cultural assets in my portfolio, and we want to build those products, right? We are here to deliver the product our customers want, and this audience that Ondo has access to is really, I think, the audience of the future. And so we want that understanding. And then I think the final thing is, like, look, Ondo, like Franklin Templeton, has leaders that come from a traditional financial background who understand consumer protections, who understand how to build a safe and reliable system, but they also, like Franklin Templeton, have this passion for innovation. And we want to push the boundaries. I want to always be pushing the boundaries on how do we use these rails to do more and to let our investors do more for themselves, which is such a new concept that I love about this space.
Yeah, Ian, I think it's very, you know, a very easy tagline here is just do more with your assets, right? That's what blockchains enable, that's what Ondo enables. What do you envision the kind of Franklin Templeton products coming on chain into Ondo's product suite as part of the offerings that you guys have? What do you anticipate the growth traction to look like? How do you plan to kind of onboard folks into more traditional products on chain? You guys are doing a great job so far. What does that look like moving forward after this announcement?
Yeah, I think it's a great question because, to Sandy's point, you're dealing with an audience that's fully on chain. Some of them may have brokerage accounts like yourself, right? But the moment you go outside the US, the odds of that dropping are pretty high. You're dealing with an audience that doesn't necessarily even know what is an ETF, right? So you really have to start educating them first and foremost on what are these investment products? How should you think about a diversified portfolio, right? We joked a little bit about going full stack into Bitcoin, and that's good, right? But at some point, hopefully, people made some money and then they got to diversify. But what does that look like? The 60-40 model is clearly outdated. How does crypto fit into something like that? So figuring out what do these actually diversified portfolios look like? How do you think about commodities versus equities versus crypto? What should be the blend? Throw in some fixed income in there. So really helping users educate on what it is, how we think about a 21st century diversified portfolio across asset classes, and then really building the content to bring that to this audience so that they know what they're investing in. And then when there's a crypto bear market, maybe they do want to invest a little bit more into these stocks, ETFs, US capital markets more broadly. Like if you take a bit of a step back, the global wealth engine that has been US capital markets is truly phenomenal, right? We joke a little bit about the return sometimes in crypto of an S&P ETF, but 12% over the past 25 years is a marvel. It's unbelievable. So just the fact that you can put these products all in the hands of a global investor base, literally hundreds of millions of investors that can now self-custody these things and trade them 24/7, that's incredibly revolutionary. So that's why we also need a traditional financial partner who can think through how do we even create portfolios in a setting like that to give people better diversified exposure, better returns, while still putting crypto in that basket of assets.
So one of the things that we haven't quite kind of, we've been orbiting around it, but investors want these products on chain. They want to have a diversified portfolio. What a lot of the investors on chain, Sandy, want to do with these assets, though, is they want to go do something with them.
Yep.
A lot of us have been doing DeFi for 5-6 years. We've been first to a lot of early opportunities, a lot of highly speculative, highly risky opportunities, but there's always a desire to create productive capital on chain. It's almost like a culture of the crypto environment. It's like always trying to create maximum capital efficiency. Sometimes that increases risk, oftentimes it does too far, but there's always a kind of group of people wanting to do that. Talk to us about how you think about these new products, these ETFs, coming on chain and then doing more with them.
Yeah.
Do you envision a future where investors could actually borrow against tokenized equities or gold ETFs or earn yield on them? Talk to us about kind of like this unlock here that you see that isn't currently available on brokerages in an off-chain environment.
That's right. I mean, and you've hit it on the head, Andy, right? It's that every asset that sits in my wallet should have utility beyond its stated purpose, right? So my ETF that sits in my wallet that's been tokenized by Ondo should give me the return stream of all the underlying securities that are held in that ETF. But once I have that return stream itself is an asset. And I should be able to use that return stream coming off that ETF as an asset in another investment vehicle, either as collateral, either as a lending opportunity, as something that I could use to start to lever, right? I need to be able to look at every asset that sits in my wallet and think about what is the additional utility I can get from that. And in the way that we do traditional securities today, that's really tough to do because you have to go through this know your customer, anti-money laundering. You have to update these off-chain books and records. None of the securities are transferable, wallet to wallet. We are a digitally native company at Franklin Templeton. Ondo is a digitally native company. That's why we felt there was such good alignment, and we want to be able to see these tokens that Ondo is issuing have that added utility that if you were just buying the straight ETF, you would not have. Right. So to us, this wrapper is actually enhancing the value of the ETF itself.
Yeah. Then back to you, Ian. I know that Ondo has a very unique way of tokenizing assets, but there's some education that is required. When we're tokenizing Franklin Templeton's ETFs and other products, what kind of actual ownership and rights do users have? Folks who are holding these in brokerages are used to a certain set of rights. On-chain users are kind of used to, like, my keys, my coins. Yep. How do we educate, and kind of what kind of rights do users of Ondo's tokenized and owners of Ondo's tokenized assets have?
Yes, I love this question. There's so much debate on like how to tokenize.
Yes,
and it's kind of funny to me because, I mean, for all the listeners, I guess typically there's a debate that centers around, do you do native issuance, native tokenization, where the thing you hold on chain is the equivalent of the actual stock? Or do you go for a wrapped model where what you're holding is a different instrument, but it's fully backed by the actual stock? It's just not exactly the same. But the token, the wrapper token that you're holding can give you full economic exposure, but technically it's something different. And I find it interesting that we're relitigating that debate a little bit, because the most popular asset by far that has been tokenized is a stablecoin.
Yeah.
It's a wrapper, right? It's backed by off-chain assets, and what you're holding is not the same thing as a dollar. If you want an actual native tokenized dollar, the closest thing is, I guess, a tokenized deposit. No one's holding tokenized deposits. People are holding stablecoins.
Yeah.
And that's totally fine, because stablecoins can be permissionless, right? Increasingly, they have better investor protections. And that's the same thing with our stocks and ETFs. You can have incredible investor protections as long as you structure these things in the right way. So when you hold an Ondo token, you have what's called a security interest in the collateral. You're holding a debt product against the issuer that will always give you a security interest in the collateral that is perfected by a third-party agent that has access to our brokerage accounts, that posts daily attestations. We're always fully over-collateralized. So the wrapper token is something different than the underlying stock, but it does give you full economic exposure. It's fully backed, fully bankruptcy remote, and on top of that, it is permissionless.
Yeah.
So you can hold it in wallets just like you hold a stablecoin. Yeah. You can use it in DeFi just like you can use a stablecoin. If you're going to go the permissioned route, might as well hold it in a brokerage account, right? I don't really understand what we're doing there. And on top of it, if you want a native issuance, kind of like what some of the others are doing, you can't actually do that to Tesla and to Apple and to some of these ETFs, because you need issuer buy-in. So we fundamentally believe the wrapper model is a superior model. If you look at it doesn't mean that the other model can't exist. We think all models should exist, and then you let the market decide. The market is deciding, right? Tokenized stocks and ETFs went above $1 billion last week as a category. Ondo has 70% market share in that with 700 million.
There we go, Ian.
There you go. X stocks with Kraken has 25% market share, and then the native issuance model has like 5% market share, right?
Yeah.
So I find the debate, there's a lot of time spent on it. That's fine. The market is deciding. The wrapper model is great. It's fully compliant. We have an approved prospectus in the European Union. We're approved for secondary market trading in Abu Dhabi. Franklin Templeton has reviewed the model and is very comfortable with it. So we feel very confident about it because it gives you, honestly, economic exposure to the assets, and it enables permissionless access and DeFi composability in a way that a native model can never get.
And if I could just add to what Ian said, Andy, I think that you have to always challenge your preconceptions.
Yes.
Right? This is what I think crypto is brilliant at, is the entire crypto industry has basically said to the traditional financial world, hey, you say it has to be done this way, but why? Right? And that why, I think, is so important. And if you lose that ability to question the established models, then you're really not belonging in this industry. And so what is exciting to me is that I want a permissionless token that gives me these types of exposures, because having that token be permissionless gives me new options for utility that I've never had before. Right? And it's not necessarily the exact same way you do it in your Schwab account, but you know what? Maybe I want something better than what I have in my Schwab account. Right?
What are we doing
Sandy,
here?
Preach.
Let's go, Sandy.
So that's why we're super excited. And that's why we want a partner who's also willing to say why. Why does it have to be that way?
Welcome to the roll-up, where we challenge assumptions and ask hard questions. Ian, thank you for the answer. Sandy, back to you here. How big are we talking? What is the TAM here? Franklin Templeton is $1 trillion asset manager firm. Obviously, the total market cap of cryptos is around $2.5 trillion. On-chain TVL is still low. You know, if we're talking just, bips here, we're really making a big dent. How big are we thinking, and kind of what's the time scale for this evolution of tokenizing a lot of Franklin Templeton's ETFs, assets, and kind of how do you expect that transition to happen?
Look, the global ETF market is $30 trillion, right? So let's just say we get 5% of the ETF market in additional growth from new audiences, which really, Andy, could be very conservative. But even at just 5%, we're talking about $1.5 trillion more dollars coming into the crypto ecosystem, which would be a huge expansion to what we have today in terms of total value on chain, right? I think it could be much higher than that, but I don't see any reason why starting with a 5% transition over the next 3 years is, I think, a very solid conservative estimate to think about what this ETF opportunity alone might look like. Forget as we bring even more products to market and extend that into completely new types of portfolios and assets.
Yeah. Ian, last thing for you from my side. I think Ondo, correct me if I'm wrong, around 70 assets on chain right now, 70 to 80 or 100?
We expanded. We went to 260 recently.
260 recently. Okay, there we go. There we go. Always challenging assumptions and correcting each other around here.
Yeah, it's good.
There's, I mean, thousands and thousands of equities and ETFs and products on chain. You know, like you said, there's Ondo, X stocks, and I think Denari has like 70 or 80 assets. There's really not that many providers who have significant amount of actual.
Okay, I'm going to stop it there just to go over a couple of things that they said. So one is, as according to YA7 says, maybe they'll convert their funds as they see fit. Well, your traditional stocks like Charles Schwab, Franklin Templeton, they're going to do it for you if you want to. But the whole reason why I've been teaching how to be your own bank is because once you understand this, you don't need them, and you'll make whatever interest rates they give you, 4, 5, 6%. Trust me, if you do it yourself, you'll get 10, 12, 15%, which they're not going to give you. So they're talking about 30 trillion assets in the next 3 to 5 years. Trust me, what makes crypto different is as they make all of these crypto ETFs like XRP, Bitcoin, etc., they have to buy the physical cryptos and have them on their books. So right now we're seeing a suppressed price, but that's just because they want to keep people who don't know any better from buying. They want to frustrate you to sell, so that once the Clarity Act goes through and all the regulations are in place, they can go ahead and turn everything on, raise the prices, so that now that those people who haven't been paying attention say, oh my gosh, you know what? This is real. Now they've jacked up the price, and now you can't afford to get in. So with that said, do you, Coco or Lorena, have any question or anything you would like to add to that?
I just want to say, I know this is going to be a learning curve for everyone. So Mike, by you having your sessions on Monday, and that the every Monday, reoccurring sessions, people need to take advantage of that, so they can learn and to understand. So when it is rolled out, once it's there, once it's in real time, they will not be unprepared. We talked about preparedness last week, and based on what you're sharing today, this is one big piece on how we can be prepared. And that, that's to, join your membership and, making sure that we are equipped. Even myself, we talk and you share, but, that's one of the things that, because I don't know crypto, I know trading, day trading, and then all of that, but I don't know that side of it. So, if we want to be ahead of the game, if we want to be prepared, then, we have to take advantage of what's out there. And then you already have something out there. So, we need to take advantage of it.
I agree.
And one of the things I also want people to understand, that tokenization means everything is going to be on a blockchain. So it would behoove you. And also our digital ID, we have to think about those aspects of it too. So to be familiarized with tokenization, is an advantage to us in the early stages to know that we won't be bamboozled in any shape or form, because we're already educated where it comes to tokenization and crypto, because that's the way of the future, regardless if we like it or not.
So true. What you're seeing now is the slide. Basically, this upcoming Monday on our crypto Zoom, I'm going to talk a little bit about TradFi and DeFi again. We talked about that back in January, but I'm going to talk about it again, and along with the Clarity Act. So I just wanted to point that out.
So Mike, let me ask you this. Like I mentioned, I only know what I know from, speaking with you, and you try to, keeping me informed, and the next steps. But if we, for everybody that's listening, let's, all of us on different levels. I'm a beginning learner. I will be a beginning person to invest in this, your membership. But then I'm sure you have some advanced members that's on, that attend pretty much every week. So by me being a beginner, you have maybe more advanced, some middle level kind of people. Does that matter? And I think that's important for people to understand. How would I fit with the most advanced versus the middle of the road kind of people?
So a lot of the people who are in my membership, they are there every Monday like clockwork. So the number one thing is to get you to understand wallets and how to move funds from wallet to wallet, how to buy and sell your crypto. When you
Would we
go,
consider that your foundation, your starting
yes,
point?
yes, that's your
Okay.
foundation. Um, so let me. I hadn't planned to go there, but I guess I'll show you that since you're asking, and now
I'm
according to y'all is asking also. So yes, it's every Monday at 7:30. So when you come to my website, let me just go to the website.
and I think it's important, for you to share, because, you know, when I join and when everybody else join, everybody's going to be at different levels. And I know you break things down where everybody can understand. So I guess for me, I don't think I will feel out of place, but I think it's important for you to share that, wherever level we are currently on at that particular time, we still will be able to learn, to understand, and get information from the membership.
Right. You're
Okay,
meeting everyone where they're at,
right.
basically.
Perfect.
So
Perfect. That's said. Yes, Coco.
Mhm.
when you sign up, you have the basic, which is $9 a month, basically $2.50 a week. This gives you access to the weekly Zooms, but you also have access to all of the replays. So you can go all the way back to September and watch all of the replays. Now, what the exclusive does, which the most of my members are exclusive, what this does, it gives you access to all my learning materials. So all these materials down at the bottom that you see that there's a price for, they're all included for free to access when you're an exclusive member. Plus, I walk you through it. I help guide you. If I need to jump on a call with you for 5 or 10 minutes to help you with things, I do that. Um, I know that at my life totally, who's in the chat, she's one of my members. So that's the beauty of it. If you don't understand something, I am there to help walk you through it. And right now we're talking about DeFi because XRP as an example, showing you how to take that XRP, stake it, and earn 8, 10, 12% on your XRP. So that's some of the things. And then with Lorena here, as a financial advisor, we are not only just talking about crypto, we are helping you with your finances. So for instance, if you're having trouble with your finances, or just trying to understand how to better maneuver with your finances, you can download my analysis form, fill it out, send it to me, and then we will give you a free financial analysis. There is no cost for this. We will show you ways to better use your money, and the only cost is if you decide to get involved in any of the programs. But in terms of helping you, give you a foundation of where you're lacking or what you can do to better your finances, that's absolutely free. So,
and I see we have some comments in the chat, Mike.
So let's see. We have Cynthia's asking again, on a scale from 1 to 10, I'm a 1 of that kind of makes sense. Was able to purchase and now I'm stuck. That's my ex. So, okay. So Cynthia, you're saying, so the truth is, when you are in on our Mondays, that's where I ask, anyone who has questions, is there something that you don't understand? Is there something you need guidance on? And everybody who has been on my Mondays, that's what I help you with. And if you have to ask a question 5 times before you understand it, so be it. Everybody's level of understanding is different. So if it takes 5 or 10 times before you understand it, so be it.
He's very
And
patient.
Yes, he is. I'm
He's
sorry,
very-
Coco.
It's true. He's very patient, and then
Brother Yacoba has made me be patient.
Yeah, and then you're surrounded by people that, if they have the information, they'll share it with you.
True.
So Cynthia, I will see you Monday as well, because I see you said that you're going to rejoin Monday. I will be there with you.
So,
are we going to move on to the next?
Yes, I'm getting ready to move
topic?
on to the next.
Okay.
So the next thing I want to talk about is meta glasses. So Lorena and Coco, you both are familiar with meta glasses, correct?
Yes, as a matter of fact, our school system, well, not a school system, they just passed a rule within Georgia where the students are not allowed to wear the meta glasses or any technology for that matter at the on the high school level and middle elementary level.
Does that also go with the
it's funny that you say that.
I have a question.
Hello, Jackie.
I have a question. Ahead. So, Lorena, does that also include the watches?
Yes. Well, I'm gonna say for my I'm gonna say for the district that I live in, that we're my son is a part of. Mm-hmm. Yes, for the schools, they cannot, for high school. And it's interesting that our district actually passed this rule. I think it was actually this year for the high school. Yeah. No cell phones, no watches, and all of that. And then just recently, Georgia just passed the meta glasses, the cell phones, and all of those for high school. They passed it for middle and elementary last year, but they just added on high school.
So for me, I look at meta glasses as if they're surveillance objects, because if you really think about it, you're walking around, you're looking at objects, it's monitoring your habits. It's uploading your data into the clouds. that's how I look at it. It's a surveillance object. It has now recognized your face. They know it's you. So once you're doing things, think about it. It's recording you. It's taking an imprint of the things you do daily and sending it up to the clouds, and they're able to track your every move without you realizing it. That's how I'm looking at it.
So with that said, I'm going to play a quick 5-minute video for anyone just to give you a more information, and then I'm going to show you the bad side of all of this.
One of the lenses. This is basically what we've been waiting for from smart glasses for, I don't know, since Google Glass dropped a decade ago. So let's dive right into it.
Cool. Here we go. How do I look?
The display is actually quite bright. It gets up to 5,000 nits and it is full color.
Oh.
One of the things that was really surprising to me is that, I've tested every other smart glass on the market right now. You can usually tell that there's a display when someone is moving their head or the light hits it just right. You genuinely cannot with this. I had my colleague Jay in the demo with me. We were staring at each other. He could not tell that there was a display I was looking at, though he could tell I was not fully present and looking at a display. So we'll see what that does to society. But when you step outside, you can see the display even in direct bright lighting. Part of that is because there are transition lenses. That means so you go outside, the lenses change, and the brightness will also adjust so that you can see it.
Oh, I can see.
Yeah, so you can see it started to transition.
I can see, yeah. But I can see the display, and I'm outside, and I'm in direct sun.
Yeah.
Now, did I look directly at the sun? Yes. Do I recommend that you do that? No. But if you look directly at the sun, you're not going to see the display. But if you look anywhere else, you can get a pretty clear picture. And that's huge since ambient lighting has been a problem with smart glasses for forever. So this is a pretty big step forward.
Guess, do I have a display on or not? Yeah, guess. Is it on? It's not. I cannot tell. But now it is. And you can't tell.
The other thing about adding a display is that they've also added a neural wristband. So the cool thing about having the neural wristband is that it lets you silently navigate through menus and select options. So there's no more, "Hey Meta!" screaming in order to control the AI. So you can pinch once with your index finger to select, pinch with your middle finger to go back. Twice will bring up the menu or make it go away, and then you can also swipe through screens as if you're with a D-pad, so you can go this way, up, down. Tapping it twice brings up the Meta AI, and you don't have to go out like this like you're having a game controller in your hand. You can actually just drop it by your side and do it very discreetly. I did it behind my back, it worked. That was genuinely pretty cool. And this won't be available at launch, but something I also got to demo was handwriting. So using that particular wristband, you can just sit there with your hand on your lap and write out your text messages. And I have press-on nails. It worked with press-on nails. That was pretty surprising. Adding a display also opens up a lot of use case capabilities, not just for content capture, but for other features as well. But let's talk about content capture. You can actually see the display give you a preview of the video and the photos that you're about to take.
Yeah!
That is so wild.
I can zoom.
It's the most asked feature for Ray-Ban Meta.
That's pretty cool.
That's really cool.
Zoom. There's a zoom now. You can zoom in. You can take video calls. I took a video call through WhatsApp. Jay was outside of the room I was in.
I can definitely see and hear you, and these are the people I'm with in here.
Some super spy shit right there. Another thing that the display enables is live captioning. And now this was really cool because usually with live captioning, crosstalk can confuse it, but these are multi-directional microphones, so it only captions who you're looking at.
What you can do is you can wake Meta AI and then just say start captioning. Start captioning. So how this works right now is, as you're looking at me, it should be captioning exactly what I'm talking about, right in front of your eyes.
Because they're talking, but it's not captioning them, so it's only captioning you.
I think this has some pretty big implications for people who may be hard of hearing or.
So you guys get so this
It
is
turns
the
you into
fun,
a Borg, basically.
yes. So this is the fun, exciting part of the glasses, right?
Mhm.
But let me show you what to be aware of. So this is something I found today.
Can I just add in my
Yes.
2 pennies
Sure,
before
go
you
ahead.
start your video? So basically what I'm observing in this video, and this is my own opinion, they found a way to make it comfortable for people to give permission for technology to be joined with them without having a chip underneath their skin. It's visible. The next thing I see is the chip being implanted underneath the skin. You become fully Borg and your body becomes a computer. So you're half human, half machine.
Yeah, I mean, that's a good way to look at it. So look at this. Okay, so listen to the woman on the left.
Or recall, whichever comes first, on Meta glasses. I am Auntie, okay? So I've kind of escaped this whole Meta glasses pandemic that we are experiencing right now, but I have finally gotten got, okay? Unfortunately, Auntie got yesterday in the grocery store. Picture this. I'm in the bean section on the phone with my mother trying to figure out which beans I need to buy for this particular dish that I am making. I hear a person approach me. I look. I see a Nike Tech, I see Meta glasses, and I see a light. Terrible combination. But it's okay because I'm PR trained. I'm incredibly PR trained. So what do? I smile, I look at the light. I'm not getting a clip. Nothing will be entertaining about this interaction. He says, I think you're beautiful. Also, I work night shifts, 12 hours overnight. I sleep during the day, I do everything at night. With that being said, you have to know, tolerance is very low, and I am not up for the shenanigans. Again, I am Auntie, but I was cut out for a time such as this, okay? I was prepared. He asked me a series of questions, and it may have been a little bit of rage baiting, but you won't get a clip out of Auntie.
This is what would happen to your body if you ate mood sleep gummies every day. Day 1, you take your...
Now, at this point, I'm thinking that this person is just a random person trying to get their career off the ground, you know, because I live in a very small town. So I'm like, there's no way this man actually uploads this content anywhere. Why did that same night, one of my close friends sends me a video of kind of what happened to me? So I'm like, dang, that just happened to me. That's crazy. I click on the page. Why is it him? Everyone needs to go to jail. Everyone needs to be in prison. If you own a pair of Meta glasses, I'm coming for you. You won't be free much longer. This is outrageous. This is outlandish. To meet a random person in a grocery store and upload them to a page is crazy to me. Crazy to me. And now y'all are on my list. Y'all will have Rico coming.
I'm gonna approach this from a couple different lenses. The first thing that I'm gonna say about it, and with regard to this video, is that I think that we have to figure out. I mean, I don't know if you can say change the laws, because maybe the laws. There are First Amendment recorders that want to prove to you that they can record in public spaces, and they'll bother you, and I see that happening all the time. But now being secretly recorded, because with these Meta glasses, people have actually figured out how to disable the light. Of course they were going to figure out how to disable the light, and they're using it for even worse things than that. But, you know, to know that you can't even have a regular human interaction, you can't even go inside of a grocery store, because nobody is going to know that you're using Meta glasses right off the bat, is pretty disheartening, that you can't even go shopping. People are going out and about and they buying these Meta glasses, they're disabling them, and then they're recording them, or they're using them to record everyday people for content. And so this is a new level that I knew was coming a long time ago. I have a pair of Meta glasses that I don't even use. I actually tested them at a sports game. I had went to a sports game like a year or two ago or something like that, and I tested them on Instagram Live. You know, sitting and watching the game and all of that stuff. And so I went live for like, I don't know, like a minute and a half, and then I kind of never used them again. I had some ideas of what I wanted to do with them as far as like point of view, while at the same time vlogging on you know, on a daily basis. Nothing really got into it because I was more focused on building these different platforms on YouTube, because I think that long form content is more lucrative and a better investment. However, the point that I'm making is that we are now getting to the point where we are kind of losing freedoms. Everything is about a camera. I mean, it's bad enough that it's a Ring camera on every single doorbell. Big Brother is everywhere. There's no privacy. Body cams on police officers were initially put together so that police officers could be held accountable if anything was to ever happen. And now people are using it as a Freedom of Information Act so that they can pull up, you know, information on your latest celebrity or the latest gossip or something that happened as far as majorly somebody getting arrested, you know, and they using it for that. And I'm like, what? What is going on? So now we're living in the future, and part of what living in the future is that you don't have any privacy. And even if you're in your own home, you can get recorded by somebody unsuspectingly wearing Meta glasses. And I just don't like it. You know, I don't like it. It's like we don't have any kind of personal privacy. You know, you can choose to put your life online and live your life like an open book. That's one thing. But to record other people unsuspectingly without them even knowing, it's kind of crazy, because if you vlog in, people could see the camera, right? They could see you holding up your camera or holding up your phone and talking to your phone or whatever. And I'm like, okay, I can deal with that. But being secretly recorded, the secret part is messed up. You know what I'm saying? And I don't like that. And now you're starting to see women that's complaining and saying, because, you know, you can go in the bathroom, you can do anything. And then men going in women's bathrooms, it's getting very, very bad. And, you know, I'm scared for the future.
So that's the negative side of all of this that I wanted to bring up.
Your anonymity's gone. You have no privacy. Your privacy has been, you know, infiltrated, and you're exposed to the world. And now it becomes global policing.
Exactly.
Of everything. Yeah.
And according to y'all, again, it's saying police weren't held accountable then, and Meta glasses will be the same. We are the people of the Bible, so there is no deal for us. And that sadly is the truth. And so I just wanted to bring this to everybody's attention, because the other reason why I wanted to bring it to everybody's attention is because we talked about this last week. This really falls in line with the Economist cover, and when we were showing
policing, global policing.
Well, when we were showing
specifically the United States for the Economist cover.
Yeah, when we were showing the
satellites,
game controller, the game controller with the brain.
Yes.
So that's what I wanted to remind everybody that saw last week's show.
But there were a bunch of satellites too within
yes
the Economist, which also correlates with the Meta glasses.
Correct. This is all tied into one. So, Lorena, do you have a comment? Anything else you want to say on this? If not, I'm going to jump on to the last topic.
No, I was just gonna say, you know, with anything that's new, anything that comes out, you know, it's gonna take one time where something, you know, hopefully, you know, not in a, I don't know how to put this, but it's just gonna take one time that something's gonna be a result of the use of these glasses, and they're gonna get shut down. You know, I think I think about like cycles of things, you know, like, yeah, we have the meta glasses now. It's going to be something else, even more, you know, 10 years from
Intrusive.
here. Yeah, you know, it's just like it's a cycle of just stuff that we've seen before, maybe a little bit differently, but it's going to take something or somebody to truly interfere in somebody's privacy, and they're going to shut them down, and it's going to be something else. So I think with all of this, you know, I appreciate the fact that you're bringing it to our attention, to making us aware, you know, just to keep us abreast of the different things that are coming out, just, you know, just to, you know, to continue to improve our knowledge, and to make sure that, you know, with all of these things, you know, we are equipping ourselves, and we are, you know, being more observant. You know, is important for us now, you know, to be more observant, you know, make sure that we're not, you know, not necessarily reckless out in the, you know, when we go out, but, you know, we need to be more intentional when we're out, to ensure that, you know, our privacy is not being invaded. So, you know, kudos to you, Mike, for, and Coco, for, you know, bringing these topics up, just so we can be, you know, number one, be prepared, and number two, to be, you know, even more knowledgeable of these things.
Right. And what safeguards can we also put in place where it comes to these things? We need to figure that out too.
Yep. My Life Totally says movie disclosure. So I wanted to, so Don P. Ben Yehuda says, I'm getting a pair of 13 MP 4K glasses that have real-time voice translation for work. Now, for most of us who want to go over to the continent, that's not a bad idea, especially when you're talking to people who speak Swahili or other languages, you know, because most Americans only speak English. So if you can have some kind of a way, some kind of hearing aid device or glasses that can translate so that you can communicate on the continent, that's a good way to use these.
But can I just say, I'm going to do a little pushback on that.
Okay.
Like I said earlier, it starts to bring the human mind with the computer, which is part of that beast system that we need to also be cautious and aware of.
That's true too.
Because you never know what type of wavelengths these technical objects are releasing into the body.
Correct. You're correct.
Yes, and will it disrupt your nervous system? What type of effect will it have on you in the long run?
I totally agree.
I do agree with that. And, you know, that goes back to even the cell phone, you know, your cell phone, and the, you know, years ago, I remember when the cell phone was first introduced, you know, they talked about the cells in the cell phone, and don't put, you know, like how women at one point would kind of put them up in their, you know, the top area of the breast area. And, you know, they never proved it, but that was something that did, that research, or, you know, I remember just hearing about that years ago. And so you're absolutely right. It's almost like a microwave. They tell you not to stand in front of a microwave when you turn the microwave on. So, you know, all those things you do have to think about, and, you know, to be more cautious with.
And then also with the earbuds too, the wireless earbuds, they've connected it to having brain cancer, and there's disruptors within that even you have the athletes going back to the normal headsets where you plug it in instead of going wireless. People don't think about that either.
And, you know, you're right, because I have wireless headphones because I don't have the wired for my phone. I have the old wires, but I might need to go back to getting some, because you're right about that.
Mm-hmm.
So,
and I've always been. I was just gonna say I've always been too cheap to buy me a pair. So
that's a good way
you've been too frugal, huh?
Yeah,
to protect
frugal,
yourself.
for sure.
And Cynthia says skepticism is needed thing. I thought I was the only one. Amen to that. And Don P is saying he lives in California. Translation necessary at times. The video glasses replaces my body cam and are more conducive for the nature of the business.
I understand. I understand that, but we have to throw out the pros and the cons.
Right. We just showing the pros and the cons. So I'm going to talk about this last section, and it's about control. So I say it's all about control. So for those who've seen the movie Leave the World Behind, there was the Tesla scene. And so this is what that scene was all about, for those that don't remember. This is for educational purposes only.
Okay. You see anyone?
There's nobody here.
Hey, someone's coming. Yo!
Clay, get in the car!
Oh, wait, shouldn't we wait and talk to him?
Get in the fucking car right now!
What's he doing? Should we flag him down? Maybe they know something.
There's no one in that car!
Mom, you let this car go!
So because of that, I want to now show you this. Because it's all about control.
Car features remotely. And in Germany, drivers who purchase Lexus vehicles expecting full access to their climate and remote convenience features recently learned a hard lesson about modern car ownership. Features they paid for and relied on were suddenly restricted or unavailable due to regulatory compliance, connectivity limitations, and software control. No broken parts, no worn out hardware, just a digital change that altered how their vehicle functioned. This isn't a mechanical issue, it's a control issue, and it exposes a reality that every American driver needs to understand. Your vehicle may sit in your driveway, your name may be on the title, and your insurance company may recognize you as the owner. But increasingly, critical features inside the vehicle exist in the discretion of software systems, connectivity infrastructure, and regulatory framework. This is not speculation, it's already happening. At the center of the controversy is the evolution of modern vehicles into what the industry calls software-defined vehicles. And today's cars are ruling computer networks. They rely on cellular connections, cloud servers, encrypted systems, and regulatory-approved software architectures to enable many of their most desirable features. Remote start, climate preconditioning, remote lock and unlock, vehicle tracking, and diagnostic monitoring of all this depends on telematics systems. And these systems connect your car to external servers using cellular networks. And when the connection is disrupted, restricted, or deemed non-compliant, the feature can disappear instantly. Not because your vehicle can't physically perform the function, but because the software layer controlling access has changed. In this particular case, Lexus vehicles in Germany, the parent company of Toyota Motor Company, confirmed that certain connected services were modified due to compliance requirements and infrastructure limitations in their country. While automakers describe these changes as regulatory compliance and technical necessity, consumers experience them very differently. They experience them as lost functionality in vehicles they already paid for. And that distinction matters. For decades, vehicle ownership was simple. When you purchased a car, its features remained available as long as the physical components worked. Heated seats functioned, climate systems operated, remote entry worked. Nothing external could suddenly revoke those capabilities. Software has changed that equation. Now features can be controlled remotely, enabled remotely, and disabled remotely. This is not limited to Lexus or to Germany. It's a direct result of regulatory shifts, telecommunications changes, and the automotive industry's rapid transition towards software-controlled functionality. Europe has implemented strict cybersecurity standards, requiring automakers to certify the security of connected vehicle systems. These regulations were created to protect consumers from hacking, data theft, and unauthorized vehicle access. These goals are legitimate, and modern vehicles contain millions of lines of code and dozens of interconnected electronic modules. Cybersecurity vulnerabilities could pose real safety risks, but cybersecurity compliance comes with consequences. Older telematics hardware may not meet new regulatory requirements, and legacy communication systems may no longer qualify under updated security protocols. So what happens then is automakers must either redesign the system, retrofit the vehicles, or discontinue connected features. And in many cases, they discontinue the feature. Telematics infrastructure adds another layer of vulnerability. Cellular carriers worldwide have been shutting down their older 2G and 3G networks. These older networks supported telematics systems in millions of vehicles built in the past 10 to 15 years. And once those networks disappear, vehicles relying on them lose the connectivity. No connectivity means no remote functionality. And this transition has already affected multiple brands, multiple countries, and millions of vehicles globally. The large issue is not just about connectivity, it's about control. When vehicle functionality depends on external servers, regulatory approval, and software authorization, the owner is no longer the sole authority over what the vehicle can do. Automakers maintain technical control, and regulators maintain legal control. Telecommunication providers maintain infrastructure control, and the owner becomes dependent on all three of these. This represents a fundamental shift in the nature of vehicle ownership. Automakers have also introduced subscription-based features that reinforce this model. Remote start, heated seats, advanced driver assistance systems, and performance upgrades are increasingly offered as software-enabled services rather than permanent hardware functions. From a corporate perspective, this creates recurring revenue streams. From a technical perspective, it allows automakers to manage features dynamically. From a consumer perspective, it introduces a new layer of uncertainty. Features are no longer guaranteed indefinitely. Organizations such as the World Economic Forum have openly discussed how connectivity, software, and digital ecosystems are transforming ownership models across industries.
So you hear her talk about the World Economic Forum. This goes back to what the whole goal of you'll own nothing and be happy. They want to control everything. So I'm just bringing it to everybody's attention because I think sometimes we think about it, we know it, but I don't know how many people really understand how real this is and how quickly this is about to be upon us within the next 2 to 3 years. And we all know that we're facing the beast system. So I just wanted to point these topics out here tonight for everybody to just be aware of where we're going, what's coming. And, you can't say you weren't warned. Now, what you do with the information, that's up to you. With that said, Coco, Lorena, do you have any comments on what I showed? And then if not, if you have something else you want to talk about, otherwise we'll call it a night.
It looks like Coco. Is Coco still on?
Yeah, she,
Oh, there she is. I see. I didn't see the third. I didn't see her first. No, Mike. I think the information. When I saw those cars driving, I don't know if y'all remember this movie probably back in the 80s, maybe the 70s. I think the name of it was Christine. Do you remember that movie where the
Yes, I
car
remember Christine.
actually? Yeah, so when I saw that, I was like, that reminds me back then, and who would have thought that we really would be at that, be there now?
Well,
Or
but the Christine one, that car was possessed.
well, that was possessed, but I'm just saying the fact that it was driving by itself. And then
Yes,
the other one where what was the guy that could call Knight Rider? You remember that?
I used to love watching Kit, Knight Rider,
Yeah.
and Kit.
Yeah, and so what I'm saying is, I'm talking just mainly about how back then, those cars were actually in some kind of way, according to the movies, programmed to drive by itself, where now we're truly at that place where, it's happening. I remember one of my someone that I know, she posted something probably about a year ago where she actually, I think she was out in California. I think Don mentioned something about parking, but I think she was actually out in California, and she called for like a Uber or something to that nature, and the car came without anybody in the car and navigated her to her destination. And she had the whole travel. It was a short trip, but she had that whole thing, filming, because she was just so, it was so, she was surprised, she was shocked and excited at the same time. So yeah, I think what you did tonight, you just really open up our eyes to really see that how, number one, AI is taking over. It's taking control. And we got to be at a place where we're prepared. We got to be at a place where we're being intentional. And, we need to learn as much as we can learn. We need to spread the word as much as we can spread the word, just so people will not be left behind. And that's all I got.
Yes, and I'll just say with that, Jackie is saying, we've had cars shut down and held up traffic in her town. So yeah, I mean, it is the life we are. I feel sorry for our kids, our grandkids, because they have to grow up in this world where we were fortunate. We grew up in a world where you could go in the backyard and drink water from the water hose. You can't necessarily do that anymore.
I know. I remember those, yes.
As simple as that was, I mean, it's so what we would do to have those days again.
And just riding, someone posted something about riding the bicycle and having a scooter, and I remember having a moped, when I was younger. So just the simple things of life I remember doing and having. And right now everything seems so complicated. Like, why do we have to have such a complicated or even chaotic world?
Right.
I dropped off, so I'm lost in the sauce.
It's okay. We're about to call it a night, and you're
I
welcome.
want to put my 2 pennies in.
Okay, go ahead and put your 2 pennies in.
On the
And thank you so much, according to y'all.
So, listening to how certain functions do not work in cars, I don't know if you've touched on this, but it seems as if it's a global policing of every aspect of one's life.
Yes.
Where we deal with the meta glasses, we deal with cars, we deal with our finances, which is being tokenized. It's everything that we know of right now that is free for us. We can have anonymity through all these aspects of our lives. But now it's getting to the point where everything that we do is being watched. Big Brother is watching us. And they can shut us out of the system, or they can allow us to live within the system.
Yep.
And there is no longer any anonymity within life where it comes to all these technological gadgets and things like that. That's my 2 pennies.
Okay. Lorena, do you want to talk about anything before we go?
Well, just to let everyone know that next week we're going to touch on some financial things. As Mike mentioned, in order for us to, well, I would like to say, in order for us to be prepared, again, we have to know and we have to understand. And so next week I will have a topic next week on financial analysis and some things very specific to the financial world and what things could potentially take place in your home, within your finances, your budget, if you're not aware. So Mike and Coco, I want to thank you all again. I'm real excited what we are doing from week to week, just to make sure that we are preparing everyone.
And
Amen.
please do come back and listen to Lorena, because she knows what she's talking about. You want to protect your family, you want to protect yourself. She will help guide you there. So please do come back.
And we're gonna do our best. We're gonna come on every Saturday at 7:00. We'll talk a little crypto, but it's not gonna be just about crypto. We want to talk about world events, and especially things that are going to affect our people, because we have to join together, as we said, as a community, and we need to help each of us be aware of what's coming, because we know that when you look at what's being done in the world, it doesn't necessarily include us. So if we're not going to help ourselves, no one's going to help us. So
exactly.
So that's,
and if anyone wants to come up and engage with us, please don't be afraid to say, I want to come, put my 2 pence in.
Because the link is that I always put the link at the top of the chat, so anybody can join us if you want.
If you're not afraid to, give your opinion. Listen, I'm not comfortable over here, okay? I'm just here to be here.
Oh, listen to you. Well, with that said, everyone, we wish you a great good night. Hope everybody had a good Passover, whoever celebrated Passover, and anyone who is celebrating unleavened bread. We hope you are enjoying your time with the Most High. So with that being said, shalom, everyone.
Peace and blessings. Bye-bye.